Hi there, Stampers. Welcome. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm sorry I'm a couple minutes late. We've had a very exciting morning over here. My daughter had court. Some of you know she's been fostering for a while and really hoping to adopt. And this one has looked promising. It's a little 2-year-old little girl. And in court this morning, they transferred it to be adoption to Christie. So they're going to terminate parental rights and hopefully get the ball rolling. And it sounds like she could be like officially adopted in like 2 months. So we're all like super excited. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get to New Mexico. I'm like going to need to sell a whole bunch of cards and some Stampin' Up! To pay for a trip down there because I want to be present for the adoption ceremony. I think that's going to be amazing. But today we are here for the card, and you got to see it last week. We're going to do this triple pop up. Okay, so we're going to do this one today, and then on Thursday, we're going to turn it portrait and do it, oops, this way. They're a little on the thicker side, so they're probably not great for mailing, but they pop up great for display and would be fabulous to give to someone local or to include in a box, those sorts of things. And then I will try to move over to some that are a little thinner and easier to mail now that the Postal Service has upped their prices. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll move you down onto my desk and I'll show you what we're working with. Okay, so here we go. Like I said, this is the card. And the instructions I was following had us make a 1-inch box. And I'm wondering if it might not be as thick if the box was a little smaller. Maybe if I had used the two-tone cardstock instead of the full cardstock. I think there's a couple ways you could, adjust it a little bit and make it a little thinner. I'm going to use the Summer Happiness bundle. This is the one that comes with the washi tape. And so I put some washi tape onto some white cardstock and, punched out several different things with the dies. But this time we're going to do just stamping. And then I had originally stamped in blue in the corner, but I thought it needed a little extra something. So I have stamped it in Versamark and used white embossing powder just for a little something extra there. And then this, I had first covered the whole front of it with the designer series paper, the Scenic Coast, and then decided to try to give this tearaway look to it. So there's a little fun on the outside and a little fun on the inside. Okay, we're going to start out with a blueberry bushel base. Let's see my pieces here. So that base, of course, is your standard 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Just a regular card base. Then I've got a couple pieces of the basic white. This one's going to be the one we're going to tear for the front of our card. And that's going to cover up, and it was 4 by 5 1/4. We have the front of the card 4 by 5 1/4. Then we have inside the back, which is going to be this one back here. This one is 5 1/4 by 3. And then in front of that, I have a piece that is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. I guess it's going to go this way because we're going to make them kind of look like they progress. And then this one also is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. This one will go in the front. Okay, so that'll be these 3 layers here. They're going to be popped up on these boxes. These are the ones that I said might be better to do out of the thinner cardstock. But they are 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, scored at 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's 2 of those. Our layers, we have the middle panel, which is 5 1/2 by 3. Okay, and then the front panel is 2 by 5.5, or 5.5 by 2. And then this front piece right here, this is basic white 5.25 by 2. As I said, I had this one here. We're going to fussy cut. I have just a leftover strip. This is from a different card we did a couple weeks ago where I just, cut with scissors down the middle. And this must have just been a scrap. Okay, so that's not being used. The rest of this is all being used. The little bit of stamping we're going to do is going to consist of stamping onto this. So let's get our stamping out of the way. I always keep a little piece of the grid paper under there. It washes off really easily off the glass mat, but I try to be super careful with you guys when we're on camera. I don't want to get ink anywhere. Thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, I'm super excited. She's had this one since, I guess, mid-December, because Mark and I were there for Christmas and got to spend Christmas with her. And then Mark and I went down for 4th of July because he ended up getting this 4 days off we weren't aware of. So we've, been with her twice, but every single night she calls and I get to read her bedtime stories. So she already calls me grandma, but we're going to make it official, which is super exciting. And I don't know, I have to be there for the ceremony. I'm just so excited. Okay, so we're going to use the sun with Golden Glow. This is one of our new colors in the magnetic. So I'm going to stamp it there, but I'm also going to stamp it on this piece we're going to use on the outside. So it's just going to go there in the corner. And then this one away. We're going to do, let's see, Old Olive for our pineapple for the top. Oh, and I guess we could have used Golden Glow for the bottom. So I'm just tapping the top of it onto this one. And then I'm just going to tap the bottom onto this one. We've got our sunglasses and the little flip-flops. See, totally summer. Ooh, yikes. Oh, that got really lucky I didn't get ink all over. I'm shaky. I'm so excited. I need to keep better handle on my stamps. Okay. Last time I stamped them in black. I don't know, should they be gray? I can't decide. I don't use a whole lot of black because it's so stark. See, I think that looks good. Okay, then I'm gonna do, let's see, strawberry slush for the flip-flops. And it looks like I've got a funky color in there somehow. So what I'll need to do is just blot this with, I can use one of these and just kind of lift it off of there easily, or I can use paper towels. But whatever's going to lift it off of there, I'm going to lift off that color ink that doesn't belong there. Then I'm going to get out my re-inker, give it a little bit of re-ink, and then rub it with the back of a spoon. it's not in the right hole. But with a couple drops of the strawberry slush in the middle and a little more of the spoon, and we'll never know that color was there. See? So I saved it just so you guys can learn a new trick. Okay. Then I'm going to do a quick color on the sunglasses. I think I used Calypso Coral. Go with the bullet tip end. So where it's, you know, kind of ending the dark color, I want to do a little bit of flicking, because as we flick, it's got a deeper color at the base, and then it gets lighter as it goes out, so that then I can pick up the lighter color and then kind of drag them together. Oops. So you want to work quickly with them while they're still wet, because it's going to blend the best when they're wet. So I maybe even should have done one side at a time. But if they're not blending, the trick is you just want to go back in and keep laying down more ink. And the more that you go over it, the more it's going to kind of drag that dark over and let them kind of all bleed together. Okay, and if you happen to go outside the lines, then that's where you want your color lifter. And you would start away. I don't know if you can even see, there's a little bit out of the bounds there. I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to come across, and I'm pushing into the line. And as I push that across, it made what was outside the line go in. So it's not really an eraser as much as it's a little bit of clear ink that's just going to push it so that it blends where it goes. All right, now we need our summer adventures. So I'm going to go with Blueberry Bushel to stick with our theme, and then we'll get to start assembling. Okay, let's lay this on a line so we're straight. Would you guys be interested at all if I listed some of my already made cards on my website? I mean, I know you guys are all card makers, but maybe if I made like a group of 10 or something, and they were all fun folds that you could use as like patterns or examples, is that something that would be appealing? I have a lot of cards. And I have another injury to my opposite shoulder this year, so I can't do the craft fairs I normally do. So I have a lot of cards. Okay, so there's all of our stamping. We're going to fussy cut this one real quick. How do I prevent over inking when like re-inking the pads? That's just going to be a matter of adding a few drops at a time and then pushing it around. You don't really want to squeeze them real tight and get a big blob. I tend to just kind of dot, 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 dot as I go around, and then rub it around and then try it. I know sometimes they come from the factory, they've got a little bit too much ink, which can be kind of annoying because that'll also cause some like bubbling and not give you a really clear image. That was really common with the foam pads, especially before we got the non-foaming agent added to them. Hopefully it won't be as bad with the new felt pads. I haven't had that issue, but it's really easy to just take a spoon and just rub down on it. So as soon as you open it up and you go, oh, this has got too much ink, try first to just use the back of a spoon and push the ink down into the pad, and then try the stamp again. If it's still giving you too much ink and you really can't stand it, then the next thing you want to do is blot it with a paper towel. Very carefully, because you don't want to transfer any lint over to your pad if you can help it. But just blot it with a paper towel. If there does transfer any lint, then you want a lint remover, like those rollers that are the double stick. You know, they come in the round on the end. They're lint removers. I roll those over the top of my pad sometimes if I've mistakenly gotten glitter or something from the baby wipes or any kind of foreign object on my ink pads. Those will get it off. But I try to preserve the ink, so my first thought is always to rub it with a spoon first to see if I can preserve the amount of ink, you know, because I don't want to have to re-ink sooner than I need to. But sometimes it just flat out has too much ink. Okay, so I'm just folding these all on the score lines and I'm rubbing. And you'll notice I've got some weird tape on there. I've been cleaning my office and trying to get rid of some old stuff. And this is something I've had around for a very long time. And I thought I would just use it up. And now I know why I use Stampin' Up stuff, because this is not as easy to peel off. And it's a little on the thick side. This was what we used back in the day when we used to use teeny tiny beads. And we would push the beads into this so they would stick. So it had to be really thick to grab hold of those, because they were little teeny tiny beads. They were almost so small they couldn't have a hole in them. I've thought about grouping them by what goes in a book. Obviously, it would be kind of expensive to do all 50, but maybe if I did 10, you know, sets of 10 that go with a book, that might be good. Maybe somebody needs thank you cards or Christmas cards. I have a couple ladies who have direct sales businesses that are not Stampin' Up. They do other direct sales and they come to me for their thank you cards. So I'll be contacting them, see if they need some refills. Be my own little GoFundMe. Okay, got it, I think. There we go. Okay, so there's my 2 blocks. I'm going to start out by putting one of them in here, and I want it pretty much right over the original score line that's in here. So I'm going to put a little on each side. Again, a little goes a long way with this, so don't over glue. And then I want it right in the middle. So I'm pushing it into the score line and then making sure that I'm flush on the 2 sides. And there we go. That's one. Okay, then we're going to take our middle one. This little layer is going to go right here. That was the 5 1/4 by 3. So we're going to put that on next. I think I'm going to put my glue on the block so that I know I'm not going too high. Again, flushing way up to the bottom and the two sides. So there's our block with one panel. Then we're going to put our second block in. And these are really thin lines. I'm barely squeezing the bottle. So it may look like a lot, but because they're so thin, it's really not. Again, pushing up to that and making sure we are flush with the sides. And that's the purpose of using the liquid glue. In case there's any wiggling that needs to be done, we can do that while it's in this form. Still a little bit wet. And then this last little piece is going to go on the front. Okay, so that's going to be our front panel. Then we can add our Designer Series paper. And this is the Scenic Coast paper. There it is. This is really pretty in person. You can't really tell, but it's got kind of a glossy glow to it. So it's got some clear something on it. See how it shimmers in the water? When I cut these, I cut them kind of at the same spot. One's going to go back here and one's going to go here, so that it'll look like the sunset. You know, I made sure that when I cut this off the bottom, I had enough to do this one. And then once I had this one, I lined up this line here to trim my top. Mary's saying she'd be interested in the cards. Mary could just stop by and pick out her own. Mary lives here in Twin Falls. Okay, I will work on adding some little mini bundles of cards to my online store. I've already got my retired product out there at 50% off what it sold for originally. So there's some used product. And then I've also got, of course, the bow maker tools and the color swatches, and there's a bunch of different tools. I actually made for myself these little bundles, which are layers. So they are every 1/8 of an inch. So these are all in 1/4 inch increments. And these are smaller. So when I'm creating a card, I know that it's going to start out with the 5 1/4 by 4. That's going to be my bottom layer, unless I want the 1/8 inch. But I use them as layers to just kind of decide, is that the border I want, or is this the border I want, size-wise. And then, you know, figuring out what my layers will be on top of that. Deciding if I want that or maybe this, so it's a wider border. But they're just basically layers. I haven't added them to my site yet because I'm not sure if other people would be interested in them, but I use them quite a bit. I have updated the blends labels to have the new in colors and all that. Okay, so now I'm just adding this plain layer to the front. So this is the standard 4 by 5 1/4. So this is just a regular old layer. It's going to go on the front of my card. But then I'm going to take that white piece that I had started to tear. So I just tore at an angle that way. Then I'm going to tear at an angle down here. So it looks like I started kind of high and then came kind of down this way. Okay, so I'm going to use this one and this one. And on this, I'm going to put the little sand along the bottom. This was just a strip of crumb cake that it started out, I don't know, maybe a 1/2 inch strip. And then I cut down the middle with a wave so that I could get 2 pieces out of it. So this one should be the mirror image, of that one. So that's how it started out. And again, I'm going to go with the liquid glue when I put these on because I want to be able to wiggle so that I can arrange them on the front. Again, not much glue, but I do want it kind of close to those edges. And then I want to align this corner with the corner of the designer series paper here. Okay, then we're going to come up the side and across the bottom. So I got lucky. I probably should have paid attention to make sure that my sun was definitely going to be in that center section. And then I'm matching this corner with this corner. And if you are particular about whether or not you want the rough edge or the smooth edge, when you tear paper, when you tear it towards you, the rough edge is up here. And then this one's kind of more smooth. If I tear away, right? Yeah. Then my rough edge is going to be over here. So it depends on whether you're twisting that way or you're pulling this way as to which side will have the rough edge on it. And then the last thing I need to do is find that little fun in the sun that we fussy cut. And I know I fussy cut it because there it is. But then that's going to go on dimensionals and go right there on the front. So it's here somewhere. It has to be. So I will put that on just as soon as the camera quits, but that's what we will have, is we will have the sunset with our inside stamping and then this on the outside. Okay, so there we go. That was today's card. If you missed the very beginning, I had exciting news. The reason I'm trying to do a little fundraising by selling more cards and more Stampin' Up and that kind of thing is my daughter is going to be adopting. She got approval from the judge this morning to adopt this 2-year-old little girl, and we are thrilled. So I'm hoping to go down there in the next couple of months for her official adoption ceremony. Does anybody have any questions about today's card? Like I said, we did this one landscaped. We're going to come back on Thursday and we're going to do it portrait style. But same idea with the little blocks on the inside and a simple outside. And I'm showing how to use ribbon if you don't like tying bows. I mean, I have the bow maker tool if you want to bow, but if you don't like the bump in the envelope or you don't like tearing the bow, that's a great way to include ribbon without having to tie or have a bump. So I will see you again on Thursday. Thank you so much for being here with me and for all of your support. Thank you so much. Bye.